All right, hey everybody, Mr. Matisich here. We're going to do some solving quadratics, and we're going to use factoring as our method to solve. So a few things, if we're going to solve by factoring, it must be an equation set equal to 0. That's one thing to check for. Look at the a value always. If a is not equal to 1, we're going to have to use the AC method. And then the AC method, by the way, is going to follow up with factor by grouping. I'll show you all about it. I know I've already discussed this in class, so we should be pretty good at factoring by grouping. Always look for greatest common factors that you can pull out to make your job a little bit easier. And I should add one more note here. I'll do it up here. Not all quadratics can be factored. Not all quadratics can be factored. If you can't factor a quadratic, if you can't find factors of the c value that add up to the v value, that is known as prime. That's a prime quadratic. We won't be able to do factoring to solve it. We'll have to move on to another method that I'll show you later in the week. All right, so let's solve each one of these quadratics by factoring. Remember, we're doing quadratics, so there are going to be two solutions. Hey, so that first point that I made, we need to make sure that this is an equation set equal to 0. So at the moment, I've got a function rule, f of x equals 2x squared minus 5x minus 12. So to set this equal to 0, I'm going to replace f of x with 0. And then I'm going to put the 0 on the right-hand side of my equation. It's just kind of a preference thing. I'm going to go like this, 2x squared minus 5x minus 12 equals 0. That's just the way I like to write them out. You could go 0 equals all this stuff too. It really doesn't matter. So anyhow, we look at the a value, and a value here is 2, which means we have to use the AC method. So hey, the AC method, that's where we set up our X bar chart type thing, and we do the a value times the c value. So 2 times negative 12 to give us negative 24. And then the factors of negative 24 have to add up to this number in the middle, that negative 5. So this might be the hardest part for a while. What are factors of negative 24? What can I multiply that makes negative 24 that adds up to negative 5, right? So like one possible thing you could have done was maybe negative 12 times 2. Negative 12 times 2? Well, hey, that equals negative 24. But if I try to add those together, I get negative 10. So that's not going to work. I want to be able to add these two values together and make negative 5. And have them multiply to get negative 24. So hey, the factors that are going to work here would be negative 8 and positive 3. So you guys can see how this diagram kind of works now, right? Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. Negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. All right, so when you got these factors pulled out or figured out, you are going to replace this b value, the negative 5x, with these two factors. You're just like essentially expanding it and rewriting this. So hey, it's going to look like this, 2x squared minus 8x plus 3x minus 12 equals 0. All right, so you should be able to always get back to where we started. If I added these together, right, I would make my negative 5x. Okay, so we did the AC method. Now it's time to do some factor by grouping. So the AC method was to give us 4 terms total. That way I could group together the first 2 terms like this and the second 2 terms like that. Now within these 2 groups, I'm looking for the greatest common factor. What's the largest number that goes into both 2 and 8? And hey, that is going to be a 2. Each one of these terms also has at least one x value or x variable. So I'm going to pull one of those out as well. So left inside of this group, I'm going to have x minus 4. Now the goal is you got to be able to multiply to get back to where you were. We always want to get back to this equation without changing values or anything. So 2x times x for 2x squared, 2x times negative 4 for negative 8x. All right, so this group's going to be a little bit easier. We don't have to pull out an x variable because the 12 doesn't have it. So hey, the largest number that goes into 3 and 12 is indeed just a 3. Make sure you put a sign right here. That is going to be important later on. Now left hand side, essentially like 3 divided by 3, hey, that's just 1, and I still have my x variable. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. All right, so that's an easy way to check your work. These two groups in parentheses have to be exactly the same, so that way we can rewrite this equation. So if you really just think about it, the 2x and the positive 3, they're each getting multiplied by x minus 4. 2x times x minus 4, 3 times x minus 4. So I can just group together my 2x and my positive 3 and multiply them by x minus 4 like this. So hopefully you're kind of able to see how we're able to get back to this, like, hey, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12, 2x times x is 2x squared. And then if you ended up foiling this, you'd get back to, where we started. So anyways, it's still equal to 0. Now, the last factor by grouping video, we were stopping here. You just put a box around this and you're done. We need to take this just a little bit further, though, and actually solve it. Hey, so to solve this by factoring, look at the statement we made. This times this is equal to 0. So if I plug something in here and I got 17, 17 times something has to give me 0. What would that be? And of course it's 0. Anything times 0 equals 0. So what we're doing is set each factor equal to 0. Kind of ran out of room, so I'll do it over here. 2x plus 3 equals 0. And x minus 4, also set that equal to 0. And now we just solve. So this is going to be the easiest part. You're just doing these simple two-step equations from way back in middle school, right? 2x equals negative 3, divide each side by 2. So x is going to be negative 3 halves. That's one of our solutions. Remember quadratics, right? We're looking for 2. The solution on this side, if I add 4 and add 4, x equals 4. Fantastic. Okay, so that's it. That's how you solve by factoring. Now, for example number 2, it's going to work just a little bit differently. It's honestly just a little bit easier if you kind of follow what I was laying down up here. So hey, let's go ahead and try to solve example number 2. Remember, the first thing that we want to do is set it equal to 0. So I can't just replace an f of x with 0. This time it's already an equation. But what I can do is subtract 32x squared. And then subtract 32x squared. Now be careful. These are not like terms. We can't combine x's with x squareds by addition and subtraction. So the only thing I could do is rewrite this equation. It would be negative 32x squared plus 16x equals 0. Now you could have also have subtracted 16x and moved it to this side, but again, just preference, I like to make the right-hand side equal to 0. All right, so before we try to start factoring this, there's not a C term, the A does not equal 1. So you could do the AC method, expand this equation, and do some factor by grouping and stuff. But one thing you can always do, especially when there's not a C term, is look for the greatest common factor right off the bat. Is there anything that goes into all of these terms? Is there a number that goes into 32 and 16? What's the largest number that goes into 32 and 16? And that number is 16. And hey, what I'm also going to do is get rid of the negative sign on my A value. So I'm going to rewrite this equation. It's going to be, if I take the greatest common factor out, it would be negative 16, and each one had an x, so I can pull that out as well. The left-hand side, I will have 2x minus 1. So kind of ponder on that for just a second. How did I make this look like this? I should put parentheses around this. I factored that out. All right, so remember, I have to multiply after factoring to get back to where I was. So negative 16x times 2x is negative 32x squared. And then for this, right, negative 16x times negative 1 is positive 16x. So now that I have my factors, I can set them equal to 0. Negative 16x equals 0. And I could do 2x minus 1 equals 0. All right, so if I divide by negative 16 and divide by negative 16, x equals 0. That's one of my solutions. This, I would add 1 to isolate my, my variable, divide by 2. X equals, it's like positive 1/2. You could do 0.5 if you wanted. I'd rather just leave it as fraction. All right, hey, moving on. Example number 3, x squared minus 6x plus 8. So I am going to find factors of 8 that add up to negative 6. What can I multiply to get 8 but add up to negative 6? So those factors would be negative 4 and negative 2. Now this is going to be phenomenal for you guys. The a value here, the a value equals 1. If the a value is equal to 1, you don't actually have to do factor by grouping. I'll show you why. So all we have to do when a equals 1 is find these two factors and just rewrite your equation. We could just rewrite this as x minus 4 times x minus 2. You get to skip all that. You get to skip all of this when a is equal to 1. So this should make sense here. X times x is x squared. Negative 4 minus 2 is negative 6. Negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. So just by multiplying these binomials, you will get back to your original equation. So then, now that we have our factors, you would just set them equal to 0 and solve. So we have two solutions here. X is equal to 4 and x is equal to 2. Okay. Let's just go through this last one real quick. So it's not set equal to 0. Let's go ahead and make it equal to 0. When you rewrite your equation, I would put the x term in the middle of this. We want it to be in standard form. So hey, 5x squared plus 12x plus 4 equals 0. So hey, I'll be looking for factors of a times c, so 20. 5 times 4 for 20. They have to add up to positive 12. So what can I multiply to get 20, but add up to 12? Maybe I should include signs. I think it might help. So anyways, factors of 20 that add up to 12, that would be a positive 10 and a positive 2. So I'll rewrite this equation, right, where I expand that b term. 5x squared plus 10x plus 2x plus 4. So when you're doing this AC method and factor by grouping, you're only replacing the b term. The a and the c are just going to remain the same. So anyways, now that we have 4 terms, we can do the grouping. Group the first 2, group the second 2. And so, hey, the largest value that goes into 5, 10. And remember, this first group, they both have x's. So hey, it's going to be 5x, which is going to leave me with x plus 2. Factor, the greatest common factor between 5x squared and 10x is 5x. And always check your work. You have to multiply to get back to where you were. So this group, it's going to be pretty easy. The largest factor between 2 and 4 is 2. It's going to leave me with x plus 2. Hey, that's one more thing to remember. These two groups in parentheses here have to be exactly the same. That way we can rewrite it. So if I rewrite it, it's going to look like this. 5x plus 2 times x plus 2. So when you get to this part, again, that last video, like this is where we were stopping. We just need to take it a little bit further now. So we set each factor equal to 0. So 5x plus 2 equals 0. 5x equals negative 2. If I just divide by 5, x equals negative 2 divided by 5. One of our solutions. Now we'll set the other factor equal to 0. X plus 2 equals 0. If I subtract 2 from both sides, x equals negative 2. All right. I was wanting to just kind of go fast with this video. I don't want to bore you guys or anything. It's cool though. Try to get good at factoring. It'll help you solve quadratics, make it, just like way more efficient. So anyways, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, just send me a Schoology message or something. I'll see you in class. Okay, goodbye.